All right, welcome back to Financial Revelations. This is our fourth iteration of the podcast, which we are kind of we get our feet wet over time, learn new things. I like to do different settings. I think the next one I'm going to try and do from my home, and a little fire burning in the background. Of course, it's gas because my wife one time almost lit the house on fire with real wood, so we thought for everybody's safety, gas fireplaces would be better. But this is number 4, and the holidays are upon us. We're in the midst of all this. So I want to do just a couple basic review things that we've talked about, and I talk about with everybody all the time. This is not something that I talk about intermittently, but everybody that we work with, everybody that we talk to, we reiterate this, reinforce these, what I call foundational behaviors in investing. And if you want to be good at investing, you have to be foundational in nature. So you have to build off the right building blocks. If you build on sand, it's all going to come apart on you. So we always want to talk about those foundational building blocks. And the one that I'm going to talk about today, which is the one that I talked about yesterday, and I'll probably talk about tomorrow, is budgeting. You have to have a budget. There's 3 keys to successful investing. They're budget, budget, budget. And if you don't have a budget, what happens is when the market is down, you're going to need money. And when you need money and the market is down, you're going to have to sell at a loss. So when you don't have a budget, you're really setting yourself up for failure in investing. When you have a budget, you have an emergency fund, and when you need money in a rush, your car broke, an arm broke, whatever it is, you go to your emergency fund. That's where you go when you have an emergency. You don't go to the market. You want to let that money continue to build in the market. And if the market is down, you want to avoid having to take out at a loss. So the COVID vaccine is coming. In fact, they're dispersing it today in England. The first person that got it was a 90-year-old woman. I hope she's okay. And it's going to be good for everybody. It's going to be good for business. It's going to be good for the airlines. It's going to be good for people in general, especially small businesses. So we are seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. And the light at the end of the tunnel, trust me here, is not a train coming at you. It is actually relief. And I think we're going to get relief from COVID in 2021. Now, when COVID first hit, we really thought it was going to be over a lot faster, so I don't want to set unrealistic expectations, but I think probably most people in America will have the vaccine if they choose to take it by, I'd say, the end of the second quarter, beginning of the third quarter time frame. So I really like what I'm seeing here. So today, instead of addressing a new topic, what I'd like to do is I'd like to remind you that you can email us questions, and the email is going to be somewhere right over my face. So you're looking at my face right now. You're going to see Josh is going to put it in. Josh is my marketing department. He does a really good job of going back through and editing the video, making sure the sound's right, the shot's right, and putting in the words that you're seeing right over my face. And that's my email address. It comes directly to me. We read the questions. We read every question, and we want to respond to them on the podcast when we have time. And since we had gotten some questions, I thought, well, let's do a podcast where we talk about this because this is what people are wondering. So I get this somewhat frequently is, how should I pay for college? A lot of people are going to go to college. They don't know how to pay for it. It's very expensive. And one of the best ways, one of the things I love the best is I love discount education. I love discount knowledge at community college. And so if you're having a hard time figuring out how you're going to pay for this, what I want you to do is I want you to do it without loans if you can. Now, I joined the Army, became a trained killer, to pay for college, and they paid back all of my student loans, paid for my tuition, paid for my books. I had the GI Bill while I went. Today, it's a little bit different because if you join the service, if you join the Marines, the Air Force, the Navy, the Army to pay for college, there's a really good chance that you're going to go see a combat zone in those 4 or 5 years that you have a commitment. So you got to really think long and hard. It's not for everybody. And so there are other ways to pay for college. And one, you're going to go to community college for the first couple of years. Remember, discount knowledge at community college. You're going to go there for a couple of years. You're going to get the math, the psychology, sociology, beginning economics, things like that. Probably maybe even an accounting course, English, things like that. at a very low cost. And you're going to work while you do it. So you're going to be really tasked with two things. When you go to college, your job is to do what? It's to learn. It's to go to college. It's not to play Frisbee on the quad with wispy-haired girls. Those days are over, okay? Your job is to learn to get an education. So you're going to go 2 years local, and then after that, you're going to go away. And you're not going to be playing Frisbee. You're going to be going to school, and you're going to be also working to pay for college. Now, you might have to take out a few student loans. Do them in your name if you can. It'll build your credit. You're not going to put your parents on the hook. And it's going to build responsibility, because this is not monopoly money. This is real money that you're going to have to pay back, but I want you to have to pay back as little as possible. It is possible to go to college and graduate with no debt. You're just going to have to work really hard. And that's what people do. They work really hard. And by going to college and carrying debt for all 4 years, you're setting yourself back 15 years economically, and I don't want you to do that. The loan rates, the interest rates on college loans are really high. And there's a lot of talk right now about the government paying off $50,000 of student loan debt for everybody. I'm here to tell you that is not happening. If you took out that debt, you owe that debt, you're paying that debt. Do not ask me to pay for your bad decisions. It's one thing that I despise doing, when people take out debt knowingly. Nobody twisted an arm, nobody made anybody do anything, and then you say, but I didn't realize. Well, I feel for you. You're breaking my heart, but you're still going to pay that debt. So students that are going now, don't make that mistake. Learn from these mistakes. Learn from other people's mistakes. That way you don't have to make them yourself. But you're going to work. You're going to work really hard. You're going to pay the price. You're going to sacrifice. And that's okay, because that's what you're going to do the rest of your life. You're going to sacrifice for the things that you want. If they're really important for you, you're going to sacrifice. And so it is very possible to go to school, to go to college, get a 4-year degree, and not do it in debt. Now, I want you to think of something else too. Not everybody has to go to college. It's good to go to college. It's good to have the knowledge. But let's say you wanted to be a welder and work on a drilling rig, or for an oil drilling company. Could make really good money. There's good money in the trades. You could go to trade school. There's a lot of things that you could do. So if you don't know, if you just think, look, I'm going to take a year off, I'm not going to go to college. Don't waste your money doing a bad job at college. Be committed if you're going to go. If you're going to go, be committed. If you're not going to be committed, it's okay to take a sabbatical year, work for a little bit, save up some money, figure out, a little bit about maybe what you want to do, maybe take a class or two at community college, make sure it's the thing for you, but don't set yourself up for failure. I always want to set you guys up for success. And if you follow these simple rules, that's exactly what we're doing. We're helping you be successful. So I want you to set goals. I want you to set short-term goals for school, long-term goals, and then really, shoot the lights out type goals. And then as you hit them, you're going to redo those goals. You're going to constantly be goal setting, and that's very important, whether you're in business or your family or whatever you're doing. You got to have goals that you're aiming for, because if you aim at nothing, that's exactly what you'll hit. You'll get nothing. So you got to be aiming at things. It's just human nature. It's how we're made. It's how intrinsically that's what's in here. We want to achieve things. So you got to set your mind on something. So that was the first question. How do I pay for school? The second question is, what's the best way to start investing if you are just starting investing? I love the way they worded that question, because I thought that's the way I would word that question. What's the best way to start investing if you're just starting investing? So the first thing that comes to my mind is, we have somebody here, probably younger. They don't have a big block of money to throw at the market right now, so we're going to do something different. We're going to start this process called dollar cost averaging. And the way I like to explain this is, imagine you went to the grocery store, and something that you love, I just say eggs. You love eggs. And you have $5 to spend on eggs. Okay? And today, eggs are $2.50 a dozen. So what are you going to do? You're going to take that $5 and you're going to buy 2 dozen eggs. But next week, maybe the chickens went on strike, maybe the weather was cold, the water was funny, I don't know. But eggs shot up to $5 a dozen. Your $5, it's only going to buy 1 dozen. So what you've done is you've been a good shopper. You've allocated some money to a purchase, and when it was lower cost, you bought more. When it was higher cost, you bought a little bit less. You're a wise shopper. You're not going to overspend on eggs. Investing is the same way. Dollar cost averaging is the exact same thing. You're putting in a little bit of money every month, and maybe it's $25 or $50, or you pick your amount. But you could start as low as $25. When the price of those assets that you're buying, the mutual fund, let's say, is expensive, you buy a little bit less. And when it's cheaper because the market is down, that same $25 goes a lot farther. That's dollar cost averaging in a nutshell. It's a very simple process. It's a very simple philosophy, but a lot of people don't understand it because they haven't invested before. And where should you start? I would definitely start, I would go to a place like a Vanguard, a Fidelity, TD Ameritrade, and I would only use no-load funds. The reason why I like Vanguard is because they have these index funds, so the S&P 500 fund, the Russell 2000 index. They're very low cost, they're very good funds, and it's a great way to start investing. And you can call Vanguard, if you don't want to call here or somebody that you know, you can call Vanguard and they will help you get started. And what they're going to do is they're going to say, look, we're going to ask you to send at least $25 a month out of your checking account every month, which you should do at least, more if you can. Every month you're going to invest a little bit, and that's how you build a portfolio over time, and it works really good. So when somebody first starts saving, so this person hasn't started investing yet, I'm not really worried about the amount that they're investing. I'm worried about the habit of savings that I want to build with them, and saving every month. And maybe you start with $25. Don't send your milk money because I don't want you to have to call and get money back. So send something that you're comfortable sending in good months and bad months, and then increase it over time. So maybe you do it for 5 or 6 months and you say, look, that didn't hurt at all. I'm going to double it. Wait 5 or 6 months, see if it hurts. If it doesn't hurt, send a little bit more. And in the meantime, what's going to be happening is you're going to be getting these statements and looking on your phone to their app and going online, and you're going to see your balance is increasing. And it's going to give you a lot of confidence. It's going to give you a lot of, you're going to get excited about this. And that's what I want you to be. I want you to be excited about investing. It shouldn't be drudgery. You don't have to look at it every day if it's mutual funds or ETFs or something of that nature. But this is how we start. And you could hire somebody like me. You could. Or you could hire somebody like me and say, hey, could you just devise a plan for me via Vanguard? Maybe it costs you $100, $150, $200, but it's going to be money well spent, because if you don't know what to do, you don't know where to start, you're going to need a little bit of help just kind of kickstarting this, okay? So you want to get off on a good foot. You want to do things right from the beginning, because it's way easier to do them right from the beginning than it is to come back and fix everything later on, a couple years down the road. So there's no shame in hiring somebody to just say, look, could you devise a plan? And of course, we'd be happy to do that for you. And a lot of people would, because people like me love to see people get excited and involved in investing. It's very important. It'd be money well spent. Let me put it that way. Number 3, Roth versus a regular IRA. Now, I firmly believe that Congress has no idea what they have done with the Roth IRA, because it is so valuable long term. Now, the younger you are, the better off a Roth IRA is for you. So if you think about this, the benefit to a Roth IRA is longevity, because the money goes into a Roth IRA. It does not come off it's not tax deductible. It's taxable income. But the money that you put in, whatever it grows to, so you put in $5,000 and it grows to, over 30 years, let's say it grows to $30,000, $25,000 of that money is coming out tax-free. You're never going to pay tax on that money. And so that's why I love a Roth IRA for the younger you are. Now, what's the kind of the cutoff? Well, there is no really rule of thumb. If you told me, hey, I'm going to retire next year, I'm going to need this money, should I contribute to a Roth? I'd say probably not. If you're 40, 45, 50, 55, and you got 10 years or more in the workforce, I'd say, yeah, a Roth would be a good option, because I like having different aspects of the tax code to go to, where if income tax rates go up, well, I'm going to avoid taking out of my regular IRA, and I'm going to use my Roth money. If tax rates are low, maybe I hold off on the Roth money, let it continue to grow, and exhaust my regular IRA, because that money is really hard to pass on to the next generation. There's a lot of rules, beneficiary IRAs, if it's a non-spouse beneficiary, and they have to continue to take money out, and it's taxable to them. So I want to exhaust that pre-tax, tax-deferred money like a regular IRA, 401k, first before I go after the Roth money. So the older you are, the less likely it is that a Roth will be valuable to you. But if you have 10 years to work, definitely a Roth would be worth looking at. Number 4, but before I get to that, I want you to remember, and the words are going to magically appear right over my face. You can get the podcast on Spotify, Libsyn, YouTube. Tell your friends about it. Email me questions. I love to answer questions because that tells me that people are watching, one. And also we like to help people. So that's what this is really about. It's not about just my good looks on camera. I assure you of that. Number 4 is, and this is a question that I get probably 5-6 times a week. So I know people are thinking about it. What do I do with my 401k when I retire? Well, there's really 3 things that you can do with your 401k. The first thing that you could do is you just leave it there. If you want to, you could leave it there. Now, if you take money out of a 401k or a qualified plan, they're required to withhold 20%. You'll get that back most likely when you file your tax, but it's really just kind of a tax withholding thing. The reason why I don't really like that is because in most instances, a 401k is fairly limited in what you can invest in, and there's just a better way to do it after you've retired and left that company. You generally cannot move your 401k until you're separated from service with a company. And so when you're separated from service, I want you to think long and hard about taking that money and moving it to your own IRA, which is option number 2. You can move it to an IRA, and you pick it up from your 401k and you drop it into your own IRA. There's no taxes, no penalties, nothing like that. The government is notified about it because they want to know where your money is. But now we can build a portfolio. Now we can invest exactly for what you need. And once it's in your IRA, you could buy anything you want. You could buy stocks, bonds, mutual funds, REITs, all kinds of different things. You can actually buy property now. It's not really as easy because you have to find a custodian that will value that property. Basically, they're going to do an appraisal every year of that property. So you have to pay the appraisal fee plus the fee to house your IRA there. So it's relatively expensive versus other options. So I don't really like that much. But I do like building a portfolio tailored exactly for you and what you want, meeting your needs, which is a little bit more difficult in a 401k after you retire. So that would be my number 1 choice. The third thing that you could do is you could just have them send you a check. Yep, just send you a check. Now, this is a bad idea, and I'll tell you why. If the 401k company just cuts a check to you, sends it to your house in your name, it's going to be taxable income to you. So imagine if you had amassed several $100,000 in that 401k and they just cut you a check and send it to you. All taxable income in that year. There's a better way to do it. I don't want you to do that. I want you to avoid that as much as possible, because even if you wanted to take all the money out, I wouldn't do it all in 1 year, because if you spread it out over a couple of years, you're just going to pay less in tax. So there's just a better way to do that. Don't do that if you could avoid it. A lot of people do this because they don't know what to do. So they just say, send me the money. And then they're really surprised when they get a 1099 at the end of the year for that amount. And if you've waited more than 60 days, it's too late. You can't reverse it. So I want you to talk to an investment professional. Now, remember, when you move it to an IRA, if you work with somebody like me, there's probably going to be a fee involved. Ideally, whoever you're working with is going to outgrow that fee. And a fair fee for most people is somewhere around 1%. So if you're a little bit north of that, that's okay. If you're at 1.5%, I'm starting to get a little squirrely about that. I think that's a little high. And what I don't want you to do, what I see a lot of advisors doing today, and I want to steer you away from this, is they take your money, they charge you 1.25%, and then they just put it with a money manager at their firm. And so basically they're doing nothing. You've hired them to give your money to somebody else and charge you again. Some people call them SMA accounts, separately managed accounts. Some people call them third-party money managers. I'm not against that, the SMA accounts or the third-party money managers. I'm just against paying for it. So I don't want you to pay for something that you're not getting. So if you hire somebody to manage your money, that person should actually manage your money. And if they're not going to do that, I think it's a valid question to say, why am I paying you? What am I paying you to do? Because if you're just paying somebody to put your money in separately managed accounts, I'd go to Vanguard and do it. I just wouldn't pay somebody twice. To me, I've always felt like that was double dipping. And I've always had companies coming into my office, and they sit in these lovely chairs that I have right here, trying to convince me to do that with people's money. And I'm going to tell you what their sales pitch is. You're going to get a little inside baseball today, okay? The inside baseball on this is what they're selling me on. And they say, look, if you put money in the separate accounts, you don't have to worry about what's going on. All you have to do is bring the money over. You can go golf all you want. Well, I've always thought that that was a little disingenuous. I don't think that's fair to do to people. And most money managers don't disclose that they're doing it in kind of like open context. They say, well, I'm the quarterback of this. Well, no, you're not. You're really just handing the responsibility off to somebody else so you don't have the responsibility for it. And I just don't like that. I think you're paying for something that you're not getting. So if a person wants to manage your money, ask them, are you actually managing this? Or are you sending it to separately managed accounts or third-party money managers who are ringing the register on you again? So you're basically paying twice and you're getting one thing. The other thing I don't like about the SMAs, we beat them every year. So not only are people charging you twice, but the people who put your money in SMAs, they're charging you twice. You're also getting profound underperformance in most cases. It doesn't work for me, and it shouldn't work for you. So if you're going to move your money over, move it to somebody who's going to actively manage your money, be involved with it. Don't go to SMAs and get dinged twice. And if you think that's happening, you could call us or call somebody in the investment world and ask them exactly what's going on here, and they'll be more than happy to tell you. You're basically getting the register rang on you twice, but you're only getting the value for one thing, so I don't like that. Again, you can reach me at david@epsf.com. It's going to be somewhere right around here, david@epsf.com. We're going to have one more podcast, I think, before Christmas. We're also, if you're a client of ours and you're on our mailing list, even if you're not a client, you could get on our mailing list. We're going to send out a constant contact letter tomorrow that's just going to give an update on investment philosophy, and also what I see happening the next 18 months is going to be a critical runway if Joe Biden is the president and the vaccine is coming out. There's some really good things that are going to happen, and I want you to be ready for them. But we also have to prepare for after that 18 months. So as we see more of the cabinet picks of the new administration, it kind of gives us a tell as to what kind of monetary policy, fiscal policy we're going to see, and how we should be thinking about the investment world going into not really 2021, but probably the second half of 2022 is where this will really take effect. And I want you guys to be ready for it. So if you have questions, email me, and we will be answering those questions. We'll probably pick a question, a podcast to answer. We generally won't do 4 at a time because there are subjects that I want to talk about. So next week, I'm going to do that. And I want to thank my friend, Sandy C., you know who you are, because you're sending this podcast out to a lot of people. She's like my secondary marketing department, and I love her. She's a great person. She's always uplifting. I love to be around her. It's infectious. I love it. So thank you, Sandy, very much. And I want to thank you guys for listening. We are really a voice that you can trust in the investment world, and I want to really pray for you guys over the holidays, over Christmas, New Year. I know this has been a rough year for a lot of people, and the holidays, they could be rough for a lot of people. So if it's within your power, if you have a neighbor or somebody that you could reach out to in the age of COVID and separation and all that, it would probably be a good thing. If you think you should, you probably should. Don't waste the opportunity to reach out to somebody who you think might be hurting right now. So I love you guys, and I look forward to seeing you next time.